Let me ask you something. Have you ever stayed silent just because you didn't know the right word in English? Have you ever nodded in a meeting, pretending to understand, but deep down, you felt lost? Have you avoided talking to someone important or missed a chance to speak up just because English made you nervous? You're not alone, not even close. Across the world, millions of adults feel stuck, not because they're not smart, but because the way they learned English never really worked for them. Maybe you were too busy, maybe life got in the way, maybe you just needed something more human, even if it wasn't human at all. Today, something is changing, and it's changing quietly, but powerfully. Imagine this: an assistant that listens without judging, corrects your mistakes, helps you practice anytime you want, at home, on the bus, before bed. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't laugh at your grammar. It never gets tired. It's not a teacher. It's not a friend. It's not a class. It's AI. Artificial intelligence is not science fiction anymore. It's already in your pocket. And it's already changing the way people learn English. And to understand this better, let me take you into a story. A real one, about a man named Daniel, who once felt like giving up until technology gave him something he never had before: a second chance. Daniel was 42, a mechanic from Bristol. Hardworking, reliable. But when it came to English, he always felt small. School was never kind to him. He was the kind of kid who had oil on his hands more than ink. And by the time life got serious, marriage, kids, bills, learning English was no longer a priority. It became a forgotten dream. But something shifted. Last year, his daughter came home with a note. It was from her school, asking for a parent-teacher meeting. Daniel looked at it for 5 minutes. He couldn't understand 2 full sentences. He felt ashamed, in front of his own child. He called his wife. She read the note. She handled the meeting. And Daniel sat in the other room feeling like he had failed, not as a worker, but as a father. That night, he searched something he had never searched before: how to learn English at 40. And that's when he discovered something called a conversation practice. An app, simple, no pressure, just him and a friendly voice, who listened, corrected gently, and repeated patiently. Daniel started talking to the AI every night. 10 minutes became 20. He asked about the weather, the news, his day at work. He even practiced jokes. And the best part? No judgment, no fear of being laughed at. 3 months later, he walked into his daughter's school, alone. He understood every word the teacher said. He even asked questions, in English. His daughter looked up at him that day like he was wearing a superhero cape. And Daniel, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: proud. Daniel didn't change overnight, but with the right tool and a little courage, he unlocked something powerful: his voice. But one night, something changed. Ben had just finished his shift. He was tired. His back ached, and the silence in his room felt louder than ever. He looked at his phone again. And this time, he pressed play. Just 5 minutes, he told himself. The video started with, "Hello, my name is John. What's your name?" Ben smiled. Just a little. He didn't understand everything, but for the first time, he didn't stop the video. Something about those slow words, that gentle tone, it made him feel like maybe just maybe, this door wasn't closed yet. And that night, for the first time in years, Ben didn't fall asleep thinking about his regrets. He fell asleep thinking about hello. From that night on, Ben made a quiet promise to himself. Just 5 minutes a day. No pressure, no race, just 5 minutes. So every evening, before the world got too loud or too quiet, he sat with his phone replaying the same simple phrases. What's your name? How are you? Nice to meet you. At first, it felt silly. He even laughed at himself once. But slowly, something changed. The words didn't feel foreign anymore. One day at the grocery store, the cashier smiled and said, "Hello." And this time, Ben didn't freeze. He looked up and replied softly, "Hello." Just that. A small word, but it felt like climbing a mountain. And that moment stayed with him. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. But progress is never a straight road. A week later, Ben walked into a small bookstore. A woman at the counter smiled. "Looking for anything?" He opened his mouth, and nothing came out. His tongue heavy, his throat dry. The words were there, somewhere, but they didn't come. He gave a small smile and shook his head. "It's okay," he whispered to himself while walking out. But in his chest, a small sadness stirred. That night, he sat alone, the phone screen glowing in the dark. He replayed the same phrase again and again. "I'm looking for a book. I'm looking for a book." Over and over. He wasn't angry. He wasn't ashamed, just quiet. Because real growth? It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, even after silence. That night, Ben didn't sleep early. The silence around him echoed louder than words. He wasn't angry at himself. But something inside whispered, "You didn't come this far to stop here." He sat up in bed, pulled out a small notebook, page 1. He wrote, "Mistake is not failure. Silence is not defeat." Then he turned to the next page and made a list. Words I freeze on. Bookstore, conversation, coffee shop, stranger, smile. A quiet determination entered his heart. He whispered the words aloud. Bookstore. Coffee shop. Stranger. One word, then 2. The hesitation didn't disappear, but his fear began to loosen its grip. Sometimes power doesn't look loud. It looks like a man whispering brave words in the dark. 2 days later, Ben walked into the same bookstore. The same bell, the same soft smell of paper and ink. But something was different this time. Not the place. Him. His heart still raced. His throat still tightened. But he walked to the counter. A young woman greeted him with a gentle smile. "Can I help you?" she asked. Ben paused, then slowly, "Yes," he said. "I'm looking for something simple to read." His voice cracked slightly, but it was his voice. The woman nodded and walked with him toward a shelf. And in that small moment, he realized something. Progress isn't loud. It's one sentence more than yesterday. One word braver. One breath deeper. Sometimes the biggest wins aren't loud. A few weeks passed. Ben walked into that same bookstore again. This time, the old man behind the counter smiled and said, "Back again, son." Ben nodded. He hesitated for a moment, and then quietly replied, "Yes, sir. I liked the book you gave me last time. It was just one sentence, one full sentence. Not perfect, not fluent, but honest. And spoken, out loud." That night, Ben didn't cry in silence. He smiled in silence. Because for the first time in years, he felt like he could be heard. And maybe We're all a bit like Ben, trying to find the words, fighting silent battles no one sees, but still showing up. Every word we speak, every time we try, we grow, even if no one notices. Because English isn't just a language. It's a bridge to confidence, to connection, and sometimes to healing. So if this story felt like your story, just know you're not alone. And if you want to hear more stories like this, slow, real, and made just for you, subscribe to Podish and let's keep growing together.